Hello and welcome to this Global Railway Review video interview. I'm Craig Walters, the editor of Global Railway Review, and we're pleased to have this episode supported by GIRO. So let's recap. There's been a 2-year global pandemic. There has been sweeping rail reform, decarbonisation, multiplying modes of transport, and urban sprawl. So I think it's fair to say that, and I'm sure you will agree, that the passenger rail industry is one that is in true transformation. So today, this video interview will focus on integrated planning, resource management, and artificial intelligence in passenger rail. And I'm joined by Alexandre Savard, Director of Business Development for Rail at GIRO, the company behind the Hastus software, or more precisely, how AI-powered software can help operators not just survive, but thrive in the ever-changing rail landscape. So, Alexander, welcome and thanks for joining me. My first question to you is, what evidence do you have to suggest that there is a growing need amongst rail operators to have access to more dynamic and flexible ways of working for service, maintenance, and workforce planning?
Well, hi, Craig, and hello to all of our viewers, and thanks for having me. Well, like you said, we've seen a significant trend of transformation in the passenger rail industry in the last few years. The COVID pandemic was just a fraction of all the changes that are happening. But prior to COVID, the mobility landscape was already evolving to cope with new passenger needs and to fight against climate change. Well, of course, operators are used to adapting. That's nothing new, but what is new is the pace of the change and the impacts of these changes on having our organizations plan and operate passenger rail. Because regulations are becoming stricter, the pressure to control costs and optimize resources is growing. Services needs to be updated on a more frequent basis. Then you have this workforce's desire for more flexibility and work-life balance. And on top of that, you have all these aging assets and network investments out there. So you're getting a lot more maintenance projects, and they're taking longer and having bigger impacts. So the list of challenges go on and on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And that leads me to ask, do you have some examples of context where adaptation is especially needed?
Sure. For instance, many rail operators GIRO supports worldwide are engaged in infrastructure and rolling stock modernization programs. This is especially true in Europe. All these investments are welcome, but they have an impact on passenger services. And as you pile up work activities on tracks and stations, and you add up rolling stock maintenance to other large-scale implementations, such as ERTMS, for example, it becomes increasingly challenging to plan efficiently and deliver high-quality, cost-effective passenger services, even for the best planners and resources managers. Because everything is interrelated, any change in one area of planning and operations can potentially mean changes in many other areas. Take a schedule change, for instance. Sometimes changing a timetable by a few minutes only can impact many trains and workforce plans. So this domino effect can become quite extensive. And also the pandemic put the spotlight on another example of profound changes in the industry. For instance, a typical railway would usually update its timetables twice a year while making changes along the way to cope with planned and unplanned events, such as track works or extensive disruptions. But the typical process of planning relies on the assumption that passenger ridership is mostly predictable, with AM and PM peaks Monday to Friday. This is especially true in urban areas, but regional and long-distance railways also had their own ridership models based on historical data. During COVID, but the phenomenon started way before the pandemic, most operators worldwide had to change their timetables significantly and more frequently. not just because of a decrease in ridership, but also to manage cost, operation costs, and deal with labor shortage. So now that the world is gradually coming out of the pandemic, hopefully, many operators are struggling to find the right services because ridership models from the past are less relevant today. So they need to be more flexible in the way they plan and operate services, and they need to update timetables more frequently. And this is easier said than done, obviously, but it's achievable with the support of integrated management and automation. I personally think the era of 2 timetables a year is over, but transitioning to a more dynamic railway is challenging because you need to handle the complex processes and the dependencies between mission critical resources, such as track access, rolling stock, and the workforce. And that's a challenge at the core of what we do at GIRO.
Okay, that's really good. Thank you, Alexander. What would you say to a rail operator who thinks modernising their resource management processes is a daunting process? What would you tell them?
Well, transformation is always going to be a challenge for any organization. A passenger rail operator is no exception. But you need to have a clear goal in mind, understanding the potential benefits of modernizing, and have a strong leadership to secure everyone's buy-in before you start. The GIRO team has been partnering with operators to help them modernize and digitalize their processes for over 40 years. It certainly helps to have an expert team on your side to smooth the process. The off-the-shelf software platform we offer to the industry is highly flexible and modular. This means that it can be configured to support complex rail operations with minimum customizations and various implementation strategies. This ensures that even though transformation takes time, operators can benefit from the solution early on and during the whole implementation. For instance, we support operators who are struggling with both rolling stock planning and crew planning, but they wish to tackle the crew planning issue first because of increasing costs and labor shortage. So when you implement a flexible and proven platform, it's easier to tackle the main pain points early on while keeping a more transformation strategy in mind. So yeah, modernizing processes may seem a little daunting first going in, but once rail operators see the degree to which they can improve efficiency, they usually never look back. They quickly go from, can we make this change, to why didn't we do this sooner? And with the digitalization of processes, operators now increasingly use integrated software solutions, such as Hastus, which has powerful algorithms to optimize all aspects of timetabling, rolling stock planning, and workforce scheduling, from the long term to the day of operations. It also provides all teams with a 360 degrees view of all the critical moving parts of a railway operation. And from an IT perspective, we develop our solutions with modern, proven, and lasting technologies and support various implementation architectures, including cloud hosting, which also can be managed under a software as a service framework. So these type of software environments, they make it immensely easier to build, transport, and resource plans that meet shifting regulations framework, business needs, passenger demand. And it lets you do this while considering operational constraints, available resources, and cost issue. So the optimization capabilities allow planners and resource managers to create multiple what-if scenarios and adjust optimization criteria as needs change, therefore increasing responsiveness, flexibility, and efficiency. It also significantly increases collaboration between stakeholders, both internally within the operator, but also with the infrastructure managers and other government bodies.
Of course, yes, thank you. That's really great. I think it's safe to say that the rail industry is resilient, but what recommendations do you have for rail operators as they continue to deal with operational constraints and challenges? What would you say to them?
Well, these challenges and constraints obviously are not going away. If anything, they're only going to get bigger over time. The COVID pandemic may be winding down, but what's next? We can all agree that we live in uncertain times, sometimes unfortunately, which demands resilience from everyone, including the passenger rail industry. Our main recommendation to the industry is to embrace a more holistic approach to service planning and resource management, while empowering the workforce with tools to break down silos and to find the best solutions in every situation. With the support of AI and optimization technologies, operators and authorities can focus on balancing passenger needs with resource constraints on a more continuous basis, while having a common view and sharing data more seamlessly. And they can do this without any compromises on safety, obviously, regulation compliance, and all other business requirements that they may have. GIRO has been supporting the public transport and passenger rail operators worldwide for more than 40 years, from urban and to national railways. We've supported many transformations around integrated planning and operations management. At GIRO, we believe that despite these uncertain times, the timing is right for the rail industry to move to the next chapter and embrace flexibility, resilience, and efficiency as a new way of doing business.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us today, Alexander. I'm guessing that some of our viewers may want to know more about the Hasta software and how they can benefit from GIRO's industry expertise. So can you tell us how our viewers can do that, please?
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to thank you, Craig, for the interview. And we invite all operators who want to engage into a discussion to drop us an email at info@giro.ca or to reach out to me on LinkedIn with great pleasure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again, Alexander, and hope to see you again very soon.
Likewise, thank you very much.
And thanks also to our viewers out there and our Global Railway Review readers. Please keep your eyes peeled for more videos in the future. So thank you and goodbye.